Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Don't Argue Podcast. I hope you guys are well. Thank you again for tuning in. I've got a few key announcements to make, as well as obviously recapping this week's Week 1 finals. Alright, before we get into it though, DJ, hit that intro. Alright guys, hope you guys are well. Thank you again for tuning in. Now guys, I don't know if you know this, but long story short, I have two YouTube channels. One is this one here, Don't Argue Podcast, and the other one's Hold the Ball. Don't Argue Podcast is about AFL. Hold the Ball is about NRL. But I'm actually, in the coming weeks, hopefully soon, I'm actually going to be combining the two. So in other words, my Hold the Ball channel is actually going to be my new Don't Argue Podcast channel, right? So in other words, I'm actually going to be creating not only rugby league content, but actually AFL content. Now I understand that a lot of fans from both sides of the fence like to follow content creators that specifically talk about one sport or another. It's very rare, if that at all, that you get a content creator who actually talks about both, and I can somewhat say confidently that I am somewhat, well versed in AFL to a degree, not compared to other content creators, but you get my point. This is something that I've actually wanted to do for quite a while, so as I can hopefully grab your attention, I want you guys to know that that's where I'll be moving, and moving this channel to. So I suppose in saying that, expect unfortunately less content from Don't Argue Podcast and actually more on my Hold the Ball. Again, I'll be differentiating the two, but I think for me that's probably the best move forward. And again, the AFL stuff I've done on Don't Argue Podcast, I'll be doing on Hold the Ball, right? I think I'll be calling it Hold the Ball Sports or Hold the Ball Broadcast or something like that, radio entertainment, whatever. But point being, if you still want to view me and you still consider me someone worthy of your time, then just know that that's where I'll be moving my AFL content, obviously through your Dockers as well. I think I'll also get a chance to actually expand more just because I've had a few numbers there. And it'll actually motivate me just because it's just more there, and I think it'll actually be a good move. Again, sometimes in life you got to take a gamble, you got to roll the dice, and I hope that the numbers you want pop up. And I suppose in saying that, guys, that's what I'm doing. So I'm going for a new venture here. It's not often you get a, for example, a decent size, quote unquote decent size channel of a specific sport, basically combine another sport. But that's what I'm doing. I love football, I love rugby league, but the point is I love footy, and I want it to still be part of my journey. But I think it's just probably the best direction for me is going this way. So again, to all you Don't Argue Podcast fans, for those of you who watch me constantly, please join me, and I'm sure I'm going to pick up more fans along the way. But it's going to be an AFL NRL channel. But I just thought I'll do combine the two solely. So again, that's it. Follow me on Instagram, all that jazz there. Any questions, please ask me down below. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get straight into it. So the first game of the week was obviously a game against Collingwood and the Dees, in which the Pies won 9-6-60, and the Dees losing 7-11-53. Look, my overall summary of the game was it was a hot, frantic, beautiful start by the Pies, and then as the quarters went on, it was almost virtually going to be a Melbourne Dees show. Now the Dees obviously not being able to handle the onslaught that the Pies threw early. However, at the end, you could see their class sort of shine through at the end there. I was very impressed with Gawn as well. He was the reason, in my opinion, that I think the game was the way it was. He almost single-handedly won the Dees the game. It was such a momentum shifting game, but I don't think at any point the Dees had a lead up, I think, at all, if I'm correct. But yeah, look, again, shout out to, for example, Clayton Oliver, I thought was superb. Max Gawn, as I touched on, still side bottom for the Pies, was good. Hoskin Elliott, now granted, a bit shaky there with the boot, but in saying that, not too bad. Apologies, not Elliott there, that's the wrong, so sorry about that. Bobby Hill I thought was good. Miochek wasn't bad. Quaynor, Neil Bullen, Bowie, Petrarca, so on and so forth. So again, it was just a real tough game. a lot of good players, right, doing their best there to win. But ultimately, at the end, I think the summary can be, as I said, it was just the Pies goods. And obviously, the Pies win, they get the rest, they get the prelim. And unfortunately, there for the Dees, they actually have a very tough task ahead of them. And we'll move on to that game right now. So the next game was, yes, we know, the Blues against the Swans over at the MCG, and a game that I'm actually very surprised finished the way it did, right? So Carlton won 11-8-74, Swans losing 9-14-68. So already the Swans, unfortunately, not able to capitalize on some key opportune moments there. Carlton coming up hot. But then for some reason, the Swans, you see, like this game here, I thought for mine was almost going to be a classic Carlton performance, right? Like I thought we were going to see Carlton do Carlton things. Obviously, they didn't at the end, but Swans were very persistent, and much like a fly that's annoying, they just weren't going away. And again, as I said, the game itself was just such a real good cliffhanger, particularly there in the and some of the key players, I think I'll just talk about them generally. I mean, the likes of McLean, I thought was good. Goulden, Lloyd, Chera, Walsh, Sard, Doherty, sensational. Akers, so again, it was a real arm wrestle. But again, I'm just really surprised at just how close it came to being a draw, honestly. Obviously, the Swans getting a goal right in the dying stages of the game. But then, the Blues... how do I say this? Look, a lot of people can blame the ref, whatever, but I just think the Blues were good, frantic, and they showed that they want to do it. So, again, congrats to the Blues there, winning that good game there. All right. Now, the next game. This game here was an interesting game. It was the second elimination final, right? And it was a game between the Saints as well as the GWS, right? The big sound. St Kilda, unfortunately lost that game 11-11, 7-7. And the Giants won at 15-11, 101. So, again, both teams here behinds galore. But in saying that, though, despite that, the Giants pulling through, I thought the midfield battle was where it was all sort of won and lost for mine. The Giants, again, just proving to be so tough, so gritty. They exposed the Giants. They were too fast, too quick, too strong. Throw all the cliches you want, but I think ultimately the Giants were just the better team. Again, if I'm to sort of just pinpoint some players, Marshall, Jack Steele was good for the Saints. Conversely, for the Giants, you had Lockie Ash, Tom Green, Kieran Briggs. I thought Toby Green was good, obviously a captain. Wanganeen Miller for the Saints. Sinclair, Bradley Hill, so on and so forth. Weren't too bad, but I mean, generally speaking, ladies and gentlemen, this was just a rough and tough stumble game for the Saints. GWS. Too good. And then the last game we had was last night over at the Gabba. This was the second qualifying finals. So obviously qualifying, the loser still gets another chance. Lions winning that one there, 19-9, Port losing 11-9-75. When these sort of games happen, particularly, the top four teams versus each other in the qualification final, you sort of expect games to be like on a general basis anyway, like the Pies and the Dees. Not to be in this case here, the Lions were too strong. Now, granted, I think the Lions sort of slipped and slid their way in the game in some patches, right? But, I mean, ultimately, they were just a stronger team. Now, Port, granted, obviously a few injuries, but it is what it is. You can only play what's in front of you. Now, Port, in my opinion, very disappointing in some key facets. But in saying that, very promising too. I thought for mine, considering their defensive woes, in the back line, I thought that they were not too bad there. Again, I touched on it. A few key players missed. But look, in my opinion, Zach Butters was good. Now that hit on Zorko, we're going to have to wait and see. But, Scott Lysett, for example, Danaher, for the Lions, Dunkley, McCluggage, Charlie Cameron. How good was it when he had that goal there and everyone was singing Country Home, right? Take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Country Mama. There we go. Beautiful. It was just good. I love how the Lions do that. It's so good. Eric Hipwood was good. And again, Connor Rosie for Port, Dersma, Drew, Elliot I thought wasn't too bad. But what do you sort of do, Port? You're going to the Lions then, right? Pun intended for sure. And they got ripped, teared, and destroyed. They were torn apart. But I look and say that, Port get another chance. So that's just probably a summary of it all. I got all my tips correct. In saying though, next week is, oh my goodness, next week is going to be juicy, ladies and gentlemen. Next week is going to be juicy. We have week 2, so this is the semi-finals now, ladies and gentlemen. And we have on Friday, Dees against Carlton, and on Saturday, Port against Giants. This is finals footy. This finals footy. But on saying that, give me your thoughts. Take it easy. See you guys next time. I'll be back soon. Don't argue.